The other students moved aside as he passed, their extra eyes, tentacles, or scales making their alien nature clear. Some whispered behind his back, not realizing his Earth-evolved ears could pick up their words easily. "Look at those heavy bones. How can he even fly properly? I heard humans still use manual controls sometimes. Primitive Deathworlders shouldn't be here." Daeho entered Simulation Room 7, where instructor Hae-Nul Park waited beside the pilot's chair. Hae-Nul was one of the few other humans at the academy, a retired pilot who had fought hard to get Earth recognized by the Galactic Alliance. "Ready for today's challenge, cadet?" Hae-Nul asked, his weathered face showing a slight smile. "Yes, sir," Daeho replied, climbing into the simulator. The neural interface cables snaked down from the ceiling, but he left them hanging. Unlike his alien classmates, he preferred manual controls. The simulation chamber hummed to life. Through the viewport, Daeho saw the target course, a dense asteroid field with shifting gravitational patterns, a test designed for pilots with natural spatial awareness superior to humans. As Daeho gripped the controls, the door slid open. 3 alien cadets entered, led by Senior Cadet Excel. The tall, silver-skinned alien had 4 arms and compound eyes that seemed to look everywhere at once. "We're here to observe the Deathworlders' attempt," Cell announced, not bothering to hide his disdain. "Try not to crash too quickly." Daeho ignored them, focusing instead on the course ahead. The simulator's engines rumbled as he powered up, using the physical feedback other pilots ignored in favor of neural links. He was halfway through the asteroid field, weaving between rocks with careful precision, when all screens suddenly flashed red. The simulation dissolved, replaced by an emergency broadcast. "All senior pilots report to emergency command. Scientific vessel Knowledge Seeker is in critical danger. Vessel caught in gravitational pull of black hole in Carina sector. Immediate response required." The room burst into action. Sale and the other cadets rushed out, likely heading to observe the rescue planning. But Daeho sat frozen, his mind racing. The Carina sector. He knew that black hole. "Sir," he turned to Hae-Nul, who was reading the emergency details on his tablet. "That's the same type of black hole we studied in the Earth Space Program survival courses. The one they used to test emergency gravitational slingshot procedures." Hae-Nul looked up sharply. "You're right. The Carina Void has almost identical properties to the simulation black hole from the Mars rescue crisis. The Alliance pilots." Daeho hesitated, choosing his words carefully. "They rely heavily on AI navigation and neural interfaces, but near a black hole. The gravitational forces disrupt both." Hae-Nul finished. "They'll need manual control skills, old-school flying." He studied Daeho for a long moment. "Go to emergency command. Tell them what you know." Daeho's heart pounded as he ran through the corridors. The emergency command center's doors were open, filled with senior pilots arguing over rescue strategies. Admiral Xylith, their 6-armed commander, stood at the center display, showing the Knowledge Seeker's rapidly deteriorating orbit around the black hole. "Eye calculations show no safe approach vector," one pilot reported. "Neural navigation systems can't compensate for the gravitational distortions. The crew has less than 6 hours before they cross the event horizon," another added. "Standard rescue protocols are useless here." Daeho stepped forward, his voice cutting through the chaos. "I can help." The room fell silent. Admiral Xylith turned all 4 of his eyes toward the human cadet. "This is not a training exercise, cadet. Lives are at stake." "I know, sir." Daeho stood straighter. "But Earth has experience with this type of situation. We've trained for black hole rescue operations using manual controls and gravitational slingshot techniques. I've completed the simulations." Laughter erupted from several pilots. "Manual controls. Near a black hole. Impossible. The human will get himself killed." Admiral Xylith raised a hand for silence. He studied Daeho with an unreadable expression. You believe you can pilot a rescue mission manually, without AI assistance or neural interfaces. Yes, sir. Earth's space program developed these techniques because we had to. Sometimes the simplest solutions work when advanced technology fails. The Admiral's skin shifted colors as he considered. Outside the viewports, the three moons of Cirrus continued their eternal dance, indifferent to the drama unfolding below. Finally, he spoke. The knowledge seeker has 27 souls aboard. If we do nothing, they die. If we fail, they die. He paused. Cadet Kim, report to Hangar Bay 12. We'll see if Deathworlder techniques are good for something after all. Hangar Bay 12 buzzed with activity as Daeho walked through its massive doors. The rescue ship stood ready. A sleek, silver vessel with smooth lines that reminded him of the ancient fighter jets in Earth's museums. Its name, Swift Response, gleamed on the hull in both Galactic Standard and Earth English. Hainul Park waited at the ship's boarding ramp, holding a worn leather bag. I brought you something, he said, pulling out an old manual flight calculator and a paper notebook filled with handwritten equations. Earth tools. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways. Daeho took them with shaking hands. These are yours. From your rescue missions. From 20 years of flying without fancy neural interfaces. Hainul's eyes crinkled with pride. The aliens think we're backwards because we still teach manual calculations, but near a black hole when the computers fail. He tapped the notebook. These numbers don't lie. A commotion at the hangar entrance drew their attention. Admiral Syleth arrived with a group of senior pilots, their faces showing various degrees of doubt and concern. Behind them came an unexpected figure, a young alien cadet Daeho recognized from his navigation classes. I volunteer as co-pilot, the alien cadet announced, stepping forward. Her name was Ji-Soo Lee, born to Korean parents who had emigrated to the colony world of New Seoul. Despite her alien appearance, with iridescent skin and naturally silver hair, she carried herself with familiar human determination. Admiral Syleth's color-shifting skin showed surprise. Cadet Lee, this is not your assignment. With respect, Admiral, Ji-Soo stood her ground. I study both galactic and Earth navigation techniques. If Cadet Kim will pilot manually, you need someone who understands both systems. I can translate his actions for the ship's eye. Daeho studied her with newfound interest. He'd noticed her in classes, one of the few who didn't mock his primitive methods. Now he understood why. The Admiral's secondary eyes blinked in succession, a sign of deep thought among his species. Time is critical. Take her. As the ground crew rushed to fuel the ship, Hainul pulled Daeho aside. Remember your training. Black holes are dangerous, but they're predictable. Every force has an opposite reaction. Use that. What if the aliens are right? Daeho whispered. What if human methods aren't good enough? Hainul gripped his shoulder. Let me tell you something about humans. We survived on a planet that tried to kill us every day. We learned to fly by watching birds and daring to fall. We reached space in metal cans powered by controlled explosions. He smiled. We're not primitive, Daeho. We're survivors. The ship's engines began their warm-up sequence, a deep hum that vibrated through the hangar floor. Ji-Soo emerged from the ship wearing a flight suit modified for her alien physiology. Pre-flight checks are complete, but the neural interface is giving strange readings near the pilot's seat. We won't need it, Daeho said, climbing the boarding ramp. Can you handle navigation calculations without it? Ji-Soo held up her own tablet, already filled with equations. I've been practicing Earth math. It's elegant in its simplicity. Admiral Syleth approached as they prepared to board. The knowledge seeker has 4 hours of safety margin left. Their containment fields are failing, and their AI systems are corrupted by gravitational interference. He fixed all 4 eyes on Daeho. Cadet Kim, if your human methods fail. They won't, Daeho interrupted, with more confidence than he felt. Earth pilots have done this before. We can do it again. Inside the ship's cockpit, Daho ran his hands over the manual controls. They felt right, solid, real, unlike the neural interfaces that always left him feeling disconnected from the ship. Jisoo settled into the co-pilot's seat, her fingers dancing over the backup navigation console. "Running final system checks," she announced. "Artificial gravity stable. Engine power at maximum." But she hesitated. The AI is warning that manual control near a black hole is suicide. Daho opened Hae-Newell's notebook, quickly reviewing the critical equations. The AI doesn't understand human stubbornness. He looked at Jisoo. "Are you sure about this? It's not too late to find another co-pilot." She met his gaze with all three of her eyes. "My parents chose to live on a human colony because they believed in human potential. I want to see that potential firsthand." The hangar doors slid open, revealing the starlit expanse of space. Hae-Newell's voice crackled over the radio. "Swift response. You are cleared for launch. Show them what humans can do." Daho took a deep breath, wrapping his hands around the control column. "Hold on tight," he said, as the engines roared to full power. "We're about to make history." The swift response shot through space at maximum speed. Inside the cockpit, Daho studied the black hole's data on the main screen while Jisoo calculated their approach vectors. The massive void grew larger on their display, a perfect circle of absolute darkness surrounded by the bent light of distant stars. "Show me the knowledge seeker's position again," Daho asked, opening Hae-Newell's notebook to a fresh page. Jisoo projected a 3D map into the space between them. A small red dot marked the trapped ship's location, slowly spiraling toward the black hole's event horizon. "They're maintaining position with emergency thrusters, but fuel is running low." Admiral Tsilet's voice crackled over the radio. "Cadet Kim, explain your rescue theory to the rescue fleet. We need to understand your human approach." Daho took a deep breath and pressed the comm button. "The plan is based on Earth's old space program. Before we had gravity manipulators, we used planet's gravity to sling spacecraft across the solar system. We called it the gravitational slingshot effect." "Primitive physics," someone muttered over the channel. "Simple, but effective," Daho continued. "A black hole's gravity is the strongest force we know. Instead of fighting it, we'll use it, the same way Earth ships once used Jupiter's gravity to gain speed." He pointed to the swirling lights around the black hole. "See how the light bends around it? We can use that gravitational lensing as a guide. Where light can go, our ship can go, if we're careful and quick." Jisoo added her voice to the explanation. "The knowledge seeker's AI failed because it couldn't process the gravitational distortions. But human pilots don't rely on computers. They feel the ship's movement. They understand gravity in their bones." The Admiral's voice carried a mix of doubt and curiosity. "And you believe you can feel your way through a black hole's gravity well?" "Humans evolved on a high-gravity world," Daho explained. "We grew up fighting Earth's pull. Our bodies know gravity the way your people know stellar winds." He pulled up the calculations Hae-Newell had given him. "Look at these numbers. Earth scientists mapped safe approach vectors for black holes a century ago. We knew we'd need them someday." The rescue fleet fell silent as they studied the old Earth equations, simple mathematics, developed when humans were still learning about space travel. But the math didn't lie. It showed a narrow path through the gravitational forces, a dangerous but possible rescue route. These calculations, Jisoo's voice was filled with wonder as she reviewed them. "They're like poetry. Each number builds on the last, creating a perfect balance." Daho smiled at her understanding. Earth mathematics had to be perfect. We couldn't afford mistakes when launching our first ships. One wrong calculation meant death. A new voice joined the channel. Hae-Newell, speaking from the Academy. "Admiral, I can confirm these calculations. I used them myself during the Mars rescue crisis. When our computers failed, these numbers saved 30 lives." The swift response shuddered as they entered the black hole's outer influence. Warning lights flashed across the console as the ship's AI struggled with the gravitational distortions. "We're losing artificial gravity," Jisoo reported. "Neural interfaces are offline. Ship's AI recommends immediate retreat." Daho reached up and switched off the AI warnings. The cockpit fell silent except for the hum of engines. "We don't need artificial gravity. Earth pilots trained in zero-G for 100 years before we invented gravity plates." He could feel it now, the pull of the void ahead. His body, born and raised in Earth's gravity, recognized the forces at work. This was what his training had prepared him for. "Admiral," he called over the radio, "request permission to proceed with rescue attempt." There was a long pause. In that silence, Daho could imagine the Admiral's internal struggle. Trust advanced technology that was failing or rely on a human's primitive but proven methods. Finally, Admiral Xylith spoke. "Proceed, Cadet Kim. But remember, 27 lives depend on your Earth mathematics." "Don't worry," Daho said, his hand steady on the controls. "Humans are very good at beating impossible odds. It's how we survived on Earth." Jisoo looked at him with all three eyes. "Ready to make history?" Daho nodded, feeling the growing pull of the black hole. His body tensed against the forces trying to tear their ship apart. This was what humans were made for, facing the impossible with nothing but courage, skill, and simple mathematics that had stood the test of time. "Let's show them what Deathworlders can do." The swift response drifted at the edge of the black hole's influence. Daho and Jisoo worked quickly to prepare for their rescue attempt. They had less than 2 hours before the Knowledge Seeker's emergency systems failed completely. Running final equipment check, Jisoo announced, her silver hair floating in the zero gravity. The ship's artificial gravity had been turned off to save power. Backup systems ready. Emergency oxygen at full capacity. Daho floated above his seat, studying Haenul's notebook while holding onto a handle. "We need to adjust these calculations for our ship's mass." He wrote new numbers with a pencil that had a small weight attached to keep it from floating away. The radio crackled. "Cadet Kim," Admiral Xylith's voice came through. "Our medical team has concerns about the gravitational forces you'll face." "Send the data," Daho replied, still working on his calculations. The medical report appeared on their screen. Jisoo read it first, her three eyes widening. "They say the gravity forces near the black hole will reach 15 Gs. That's enough to crush most species." Daho finally looked up from his notebook, a small smile on his face. Most species didn't evolve on Earth. He pushed off the wall and floated to a storage compartment, pulling out 2 special suits. "These are Earth-designed pressure suits. We used them before we had gravity technology. But 15 Gs. Jisoo looked worried. "Even with the suits, the pressure could kill us." "That's where being a Deathworlder helps," Daho explained, handing her a suit. "Humans evolved on a planet with high gravity. Our bones are denser, our muscles stronger. We can handle forces that would harm other species." As they put on the suits, Haenul's voice came over a private channel. "Daho, remember your gravity training? The techniques we practiced?" "Yes, sir," Daho replied, helping Jisoo adjust her suit. Anti-G breathing, muscle tension, blood flow control, the old fighter pilot methods. Jisoo watched with fascination as Daho demonstrated the breathing technique. "Your people developed ways to fight gravity itself." "We had to," he explained. "Earth's first pilots passed out when they flew too fast. So we learned to control our bodies, to push our limits." He checked her suit's seals. "These suits will help you handle the pressure. Trust your body's strength." A warning light flashed on their console. The Knowledge Seeker was losing power faster than expected. They had less time than they thought. "All rescue ships, stand by," Admiral Xylith ordered. "Cadet Kim, begin your approach when ready. May the stars guide you." Daeho strapped himself into the pilot's seat, feeling the familiar comfort of manual controls under his hands. Jisoo took her place beside him, her suited fingers moving across the backup navigation panel. "Running engine diagnostic," she reported. "Power systems normal. Hull integrity at maximum." She paused, looking at him. "The ship's eye has shut itself down completely. We're on our own." "Good," Daeho said, surprising her. "No more warnings about impossible missions. Just us, the ship, and the math." He opened a channel to all ships. "This is swift response. Beginning rescue approach. Following Earth Protocol 7 for extreme gravity conditions." The rescue fleet watched in silence as their ship turned toward the black hole. The vast darkness filled their view screen, vending light around its edges like a dark eye watching them. "Tell me about Earth," Jisoo said suddenly, her voice steady despite her obvious tension. "What makes humans so sure they can do this?" Daeho checked their trajectory one last time before answering. "Earth tried to kill us every day. Earthquakes, storms, floods, volcanoes. We survived it all. We learned to swim in deadly oceans, to walk through burning deserts, to climb frozen mountains." The ship began to shudder as gravity increased. Warning lights flashed across every panel. "Gravity at 3 Gs and rising," Jisoo reported, her voice strained but determined. "Start your breathing technique," Daeho reminded her. "Just like we practiced. In through the nose, sharp out through the mouth. Tighten your leg muscles with each breath." The black hole's pull grew stronger. Stars seemed to bend around them as space itself twisted in the massive gravitational field. "Gravity at 5 Gs," Jisoo managed to say between breaths. Daeho felt the familiar pressure pushing him into his seat. His Earth-evolved body recognized this fight against gravity. This was what humans were born for, facing the impossible, pushing through barriers that nature itself put in their way. "Hold on," he said, gripping the controls tighter. "We're going in." The swift response shuddered violently as it pushed deeper into the black hole's gravity well. Warning lights covered every panel in the cockpit. The ship's metal frame groaned under forces it was never designed to handle. "Gravity at 8 Gs," Jisoo reported through gritted teeth. Her silver skin had turned a pale gray from the strain. Hull stress reaching maximum limits. Daeho's hands gripped the manual controls tightly. His Earth-trained muscles fought against the crushing pressure. Every small movement needed enormous effort, but he could feel the ship talking to him through the controls. Every shake, every vibration told him a story about their path through space. "Primary engines failing." Jisoo's voice was barely a whisper against the growing pressure. "Switching to backup power." The ship lurched as the engine switched over. Daeho corrected their course with careful movements. A wrong turn now would send them straight into the black hole's point of no return. All ships are dropping back," Jisoo managed to say. "We're alone now." Through the view screen, they could see the rescue fleet retreating. The gravitational forces had become too strong for their advanced ships to handle. Only the swift response, guided by human hands, continued forward. Admiral Xylith's voice crackled through static on the radio. "Cadet Kim, your ship's sensors are showing impossible readings. How are you still conscious at these gravity levels?" Daeho didn't answer immediately. He needed all his focus to keep the ship steady. His breathing came in controlled bursts, the same technique Earth pilots had used for centuries. In through the nose, sharp out through the mouth, each breath fighting against the crushing force. "Earth gravity training," he finally replied. "Fighter pilots learned these techniques hundreds of years ago." The black hole filled their entire view now. Light bent around it in strange patterns, creating paths that only human eyes, evolved to spot prey and avoid predators, could follow. Daeho traced these paths with the ship, using the warped starlight as his guide. "Gravity at 12 Gs," Jisoo reported. Her voice shook with effort. "Main computer, completely dead. Navigation systems offline." "We don't need them," Daeho said. He pulled Haynul's notebook from his suit pocket. The pages were crumpled from the gravity, but the numbers were still clear. Your eyes. Can you still see the knowledge seeker? Jisoo forced her 3 eyes to focus on the sensors. Yes. They're still there. Half an orbit ahead of us. The ship groaned again as Daeho adjusted their course. Metal wasn't meant to handle these forces, but human bodies, shaped by millions of years of fighting Earth's gravity, could adapt. Losing power to life support, Jisoo warned. The lights in the cockpit dimmed. Emergency systems, engaging. Daeho felt the change in the ship's movement. Without computer control, the swift response flew more freely. He could feel every small force acting on the hull. This was how Earth's first astronauts had flown. By touch and instinct, not computers. Hull temperature rising, Jisoo said. The gravity, it's heating the metal. Sweat rolled down Daeho's face inside his helmet. The gravity suit squeezed his body, helping his heart pump blood against the crushing pressure. Another Earth invention, born from centuries of pushing human limits. Through the radio static, they heard voices from the rescue fleet. Alien pilots watched in amazement as the swift response did what their advanced ships couldn't: fight against a black hole's pull with nothing but mechanical controls and human determination. Gravity at 15 Gs, Jisoo whispered. Her suit's medical sensors showed her body struggling but holding. How are you still flying? Daeho's vision had narrowed to a tunnel, his body fighting to keep blood flowing to his brain. But his hands remained steady on the controls. Earth's gravity had shaped his ancestors, made their bones dense and their muscles strong. Now, near a black hole, those ancient adaptations were keeping him alive. Because, he answered, his voice strained but clear, humans don't give up. We evolved, fighting gravity, fighting death, fighting everything that tried to kill us. He adjusted their course one more time, following the paths of bent light. This is what Deathworlders do best. Ahead of them, through the twisted light and crushing gravity, the knowledge seeker waited. Its crew watched in disbelief as a human pilot guided a ship through forces that their most advanced computers said were impossible to survive. Ready for rescue approach, Daeho said. His hands, steady despite the pressure, guided their ship closer to its target. This is what Earth prepared us for. The knowledge seeker came into view through the twisted light around them. The science vessel looked like a broken toy, its sleek hull dark except for emergency lights blinking weakly along its sides. It spun slowly in the black hole's pull, its stabilizers dead. Opening communication channel, Jisoo said. Her voice was stronger now that they'd reached a stable orbit matching the damaged ship. Knowledge seeker, this is swift response. Do you copy? Static filled the radio for several long seconds. Then a weak voice answered. This is Captain Mira of the Knowledge Seeker. We didn't think anyone could reach us. We're here to help, Daeho responded, studying the other ship's movement. What's your status? Bad, Captain Mira replied. Main power is dead. Life support running on emergency cells. AI systems they're gone. Just gone. The gravity destroyed them. There was fear in her voice. We can't even open our docking bay doors. They're stuck on manual. Daeho looked at Jisoo. Manual? Ha. Good thing humans love manual controls. He turned back to the radio. Captain, we're going to try something that Earth ships used to do. It's called a parallel dock. We'll match your spin and connect airlocks directly. That's impossible. Another voice cut in from the knowledge seeker. The gravitational forces will tear the ships apart. Trust us, Jisoo said firmly. Our pilot is human. They're very good at impossible things. Daeho's hands moved carefully over the controls. The swift response edged closer to the spinning ship. Every movement had to be perfect. One mistake would send both ships into the black hole. Gravity at 14 Gs, Jisoo reported. Our hull is holding. matching their rotation speed now. The two ships danced in space, their movement controlled by nothing but human hands and simple physics. Daeho felt the forces through the control stick, reading the push and pull like a book written in gravity. "Almost there," he said through clenched teeth. "Get ready with the emergency seal." Jisoo pulled out a device that looked old-fashioned compared to the ship's other technology. "Earth-made docking seal," she explained to the radio. "No computers, just strong rubber and stronger clamps." The ships came together with a gentle bump. The seal expanded, creating an airtight connection between the airlocks. Simple technology, but perfect for the job. "Seal is good," Jisoo announced. "We can start evacuation." The Knowledge Seeker's airlock opened with a hiss of emergency hydraulics. 27 crew members floated through, their eyes wide at the sight of their rescuers. Many had never seen a human before. "Welcome aboard," Daeho said, still focused on keeping the ship steady. "Please strap in quickly. This ride isn't over yet." Captain Mira, a tall alien with crystalline skin, floated into the cockpit. "You flew here manually, through a black hole's gravity well. Earth pilots trained for this kind of thing," Daeho explained. "Back when we were just learning about space." "But why?" she asked. "Why keep such primitive skills when we have advanced computers?" The ship shuddered as another gravity wave hit them. Without missing a beat, Daeho adjusted their position, his hands moving by instinct and training. "Because sometimes," he answered, "the simple ways are the most reliable. Computers can fail. Gravity can corrupt data. But human skills, human instincts, they work even here." The last crew member strapped in. Jisoo checked the seal one last time. "Everyone's aboard. Ready to disconnect." Daeho nodded. "Hold on tight. This next part, well, humans call it threading the needle." He pressed a button, releasing the seal. The Knowledge Seeker drifted away, empty but intact. Now came the hardest part, getting everyone safely back through the gravity well. "All hands," he called over the ship's speakers. "We're about to experience heavy G-forces. Use the breathing techniques we showed you. Remember, short breaths, tight muscles." The black hole's massive gravity pulled at them as Daeho turned the ship around. But now he had 27 more lives depending on his earthborn skills. 27 aliens about to learn why humans were called Deathworlders. "Ready?" he asked Jisoo. She checked their new passengers one last time. All secured, all breathing as instructed. "Ready. Show them how Earth pilots fly." Daeho smiled, his hand steady on the controls. "Time to go home." "New calculations ready," Jisoo announced, her fingers moving across her tablet. "But the extra mass changes everything. We need more speed to break free." Daeho studied Haenul's notebook again, his mind racing. Then he smiled. "We won't fight the gravity. We'll use it." Captain Mira, still in the cockpit, looked confused. "Use a black hole's gravity. That's what trapped us in the first place." "Exactly," Daeho said. "Earth's first space programs didn't have powerful engines. So we learned to use gravity to move faster. We called it a gravity assist." He pointed to the swirling patterns of light around them. "The black hole is pulling us in. But if we ride that pull just right, we can slingshot around it," Jisoo finished, understanding lighting up her face. "Like your old spacecraft used planets to gain speed." The rescued crew listened in amazement as Daeho explained the plan. It seemed impossible, using the deadliest force in space to help them escape. But they had just watched this human pilot do the impossible once already. "All hands," Daeho called over the ship's speakers. "Secure everything. This ride will be rough." He looked at Jisoo. "Ready for some old-fashioned flying?" She nodded, checking their harnesses one last time. Emergency power diverted to engines. "It's all or nothing now." Daeho took a deep breath, then turned the ship toward the black hole. The massive void seemed to grow even larger, hungry for their small vessel. But Daeho saw something else, a path through the twisted space, marked by bent starlight. "Beginning gravity assist maneuver," he announced. "Everyone remember your breathing exercises." The ship plunged deeper into the gravity well. Warning alarms screamed as the hull creaked under enormous pressure. The rescued crew held tight to their seats, copying the breathing technique they had learned. "Gravity at 16 Gs," Jisoo called out, her voice strained. Hull temperature rising. Daeho's world narrowed to the controls under his hands and the view ahead. His earthborn body fought against forces that should have knocked him unconscious. But generations of evolution on a high-gravity world had prepared him for this moment. "Starting the turn," he said through gritted teeth. "Hold on." The swift response curved through space, riding the edge of the black hole's pull like a surfer on a giant wave. Stars seemed to spin around them as space itself bent to the void's power. "Engine power at maximum," Jisoo reported. "Speed increasing." Captain Mira watched in wonder as the human pilot guided them through maneuvers her ship's AI had called impossible. "The gravity. You're using it to throw us clear." "Just like throwing a stone," Daeho said, his hand steady despite the crushing pressure. "The harder you pull back." The ship rocketed around the curve of warped space, gathering speed from the black hole's incredible gravity. Everything not tied down flew toward the back of the ship. The hull groaned as metal stretched to its limits. "Hull breach warning," Jisoo shouted. "We're approaching structural failure." But Daeho had timed it perfectly. Just as the ship reached its breaking point, they snapped around the final curve. The black hole's gravity now pushed them away, adding its enormous power to their escape. "We're clear," Jisoo cried as the pressure suddenly dropped. "Speed beyond maximum safe limit. But we're alive." The rescued crew cheered as the black hole shrank behind them. They had just witnessed something unprecedented, a ship using a black hole's own power to escape its grasp. Through the radio came the amazed voices of the rescue fleet, watching from a safe distance. They had seen a human pilot turn certain death into an advantage, using simple physics in ways their advanced computers had never considered. Swift response. Admiral Syleth's voice cut through the celebration. That was remarkable. Your Earth techniques just rewrote our understanding of space rescue." Daeho finally relaxed his grip on the controls, his arms shaking from effort. "Sometimes the old ways are the best ways, Admiral. Humans learned that a long time ago." Jisoo looked at him with newfound respect. "That's why you succeeded where our computers failed. You didn't just fight the black hole, you worked with it." "That's how humans survived Earth," Daeho explained, watching the stars return to normal around them. "We learned to use nature's power instead of always fighting it. Even something as dangerous as a black hole can help you if you understand it well enough." The swift response cruised toward the waiting rescue fleet, carrying its crew of grateful survivors and a new legend about human pilots. Behind them, the black hole spun on, unchanged but no longer undefeated. The main hangar of the Galactic Alliance Space Academy was packed with people. Aliens of every species crowded together, their eyes fixed on the swift response as it settled onto the landing pad. The ship's hull still glowed faintly from its journey through the black hole's gravity. Hanul waited at the front of the crowd, standing beside Admiral Syleth. The old human pilot's face showed pride as the ship's airlock finally opened. Daeho and Jisoo emerged first, helping the rescued crew members who were still weak from the intense gravitational forces. Medical teams rushed forward with floating stretchers, but many of the survivors insisted on walking. They wanted everyone to see them leave the ship that had done the impossible. "Cadet Kim," Admiral Syleth called, his voice carrying across the hangar. "Step forward." Daeho walked toward the Admiral, aware of hundreds of eyes watching him. His flight suit was wrinkled and stained with sweat, but he stood straight and tall. Earth's gravity had made humans strong, and now everyone could see why that mattered. "You flew a rescue mission that our best computers said was impossible," the Admiral said. You used methods we called primitive, simple physics and manual controls, against the strongest force in space. He paused, his color-shifting skin showing deep thought. We were wrong. Captain Mira stepped forward from the rescued crew. This human pilot didn't just save our lives. He showed us something important. Sometimes the simplest solution is the best solution. The Admiral nodded. Our ships are filled with advanced technology. Neural interfaces, artificial gravity, computer controls. But today, all of that failed. What succeeded was human skill, human strength, and human courage. Hanul moved to stand beside his student. Earth's gravity shaped us, he explained to the crowd. Made us tough. Made us learn to think differently about forces that could kill us. We kept our old skills because we knew computers could fail. Today proved we were right. Scientists from the Knowledge Seeker pushed forward, holding data tablets. The readings we got during the rescue, they're amazing. The way the ship used the black hole's gravity for escape velocity. It's a completely new approach to space rescue. Not new, Daho corrected them gently. Very old. Earth scientists figured this out centuries ago, when we were just learning to fly in space. We kept the knowledge, just in case we needed it. Jisoo joined them, still wearing her flight suit. I watched him feel his way through gravitational forces that overwhelmed our best sensors. Human pilots don't just use their eyes. They use their whole body to understand space. The Admiral raised all four hands for silence. Today marks a change in the Galactic Alliance Space Academy. We will no longer dismiss Earth methods as primitive. From now on, all pilot cadets will learn both advanced technology and basic spaceflight skills. The hangar erupted in cheers. Alien pilots crowded around Daho, asking questions about Earth training methods. Scientists begged to study Hanul's notebook of simple but powerful calculations. There's more, the Admiral announced. The Academy is creating a new course, Emergency Spaceflight Techniques, and our first two instructors will be Cadet Kim and Cadet Lee. Daho looked at Jisoo in surprise. She smiled back with all three eyes. We proved that human methods and alien technology can work together. That's what I want to teach. Hanul put his hands on both their shoulders. This is what Earth hoped for when we joined the Galactic Alliance. Not to forget our past, but to share it. To show that being a Death Worlder made us strong in ways that matter. The rescued crew of the Knowledge Seeker gathered around Daho. Many bowed in the Earth style they had learned during their rescue. Captain Mira spoke for all of them. We thought humans were behind the rest of the galaxy. Now we understand. You were ahead of us in ways we couldn't see. As the celebration continued, Daho looked out the hangar's huge windows at the stars. Somewhere out there, a black hole spun in space, no longer a death sentence for ships caught in its grip. Human pilots had conquered Earth's gravity, and now they could help others do the same. Not bad for a primitive Death Worlder, Jisoo said softly beside him. Daho smiled. Earth taught us to never give up, to use every force, even deadly ones, to our advantage. That's not primitive. That's survival. The swift response stood behind them, its hull bearing the marks of their journey. But those scars would stay, a reminder that sometimes the old ways, the simple ways, were exactly what the galaxy needed. Good form, Cadet Excel, he said to the silver-skinned alien who had once mocked his primitive methods. Now Excel was one of his best students, eager to learn Earth's survival skills. Jisoo entered the hall, carrying a stack of paper notebooks. Real paper, another Earth tradition the Academy had adopted. The new manual flight calculations are ready, she announced, with pictures, just like Hanul's notebook. The Academy's walls now displayed images of Earth's early space missions alongside modern ships. Apollo rockets stood next to quantum drives, showing how far humanity had come, and what they had kept along the way. Look at this, Jisoo said, opening her tablet. 3 more rescue missions completed using Earth methods. 2 black holes and 1 neutron star. all successful. Daho smiled, remembering their own mission. How many used the gravity assist technique? All of them. The Admiral says it's now standard procedure for high-gravity rescues. They're calling it the Earth Maneuver. In the simulator room next door, Haynul was teaching a mixed group of human and alien pilots. They sat at manual controls, learning to feel their ship's movements without computer help. The old Earth pilot had never looked happier. The Knowledge Seeker crew sent another message, Jisoo said as they walked through the halls. Their research on black holes is changing everything. They say combining Earth's physical understanding with alien technology is opening new doors. They passed the Academy's new Emergency Response Center, where Captain Mira now worked as chief instructor. Through the window, they could see her teaching both human and alien pilots about survival in extreme conditions. Earth's hard lessons were saving lives across the galaxy. Did you see the new ship designs? Daho asked, pointing to a hologram floating in the center of the room. It showed a spacecraft with both advanced alien technology and simple Earth-style backup systems. They're building manual controls into everything now, just in case. A group of first-year cadets hurried past, carrying both neural interface units and paper star charts. One dropped their notebook, and Daho picked it up. Inside were careful notes about Earth gravity training, written in 3 different alien languages. Remember when they called us primitive? Jisoo said softly. Now they understand. Being a Deathworlder means being ready for anything. They reached the main hangar, where the swift response still stood. The ship had been retired from active duty, turned into a teaching tool. Its scared hull told a story of survival against impossible odds. New cadets touched it for luck before their first flights. Admiral Silith waited for them by the ship. "Ah, our Earth experts," he said warmly. "The new joint training program is ready to launch. 20 stations across the galaxy, teaching both human and alien methods." "How many students?" Daho asked. 10,000 in the first year. Everyone wants to learn from the Deathworlders now. The Admiral's skin rippled with amusement, especially after yesterday's rescue. They all knew what he meant. Another ship had been saved from a black hole, this time by an alien pilot using Earth techniques. The student had become the teacher. Haynul's notebook has been copied 10 million times, Jisoo reported. Every ship in the fleet carries one now. Simple math that works when computers fail. Daho touched the swift responses hull, feeling the rough spots where gravity had tried to tear it apart. "We never forgot our roots," he said. "Earth taught us to survive, to adapt, to use everything we learned. Now we can teach others." Through the hangar's force field, they could see ships taking off and landing. Each one carried both advanced technology and simple backup systems. Each pilot knew both neural interfaces and manual controls. The galaxy had learned that sometimes the old ways were the best ways. "The Academy wants to create a museum," Admiral Silith said, "to show how Earth methods changed space travel. Will you help?" Daho and Jisoo looked at each other and smiled. Their adventure had started a change nobody expected. Humanity's primitive skills had proven to be exactly what the galaxy needed. "Of course we'll help," Daho said. "After all, every pilot should know where they came from. Earth taught us that too." Above them, the stars shone bright and clear. Somewhere out there, ships were flying safer because of lessons learned on a high-gravity world called Earth. The Deathworlders had changed the galaxy, not with advanced technology, but with simple knowledge passed down through generations of survivors. And that was humanity's greatest gift to the stars.